is Eddie C, and welcome to my Positive Podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life, because everyone has a story to tell. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to MPP, my Positive Podcast, and I'm your host, Eddie C, and this is episode number 39. Well, the weather is starting to get, once again, cold and chilly, and starts to get cozy inside, and we've had a lot of rain here over in Europe, and but that's also good because the plants can use it, and it's always a time to kind of like snuggle up and do a lot of activities that you like to do inside. And of course, it's not bad to get out there as well if you're a real outdoors person. Don't forget, you can also come to my website and become a positivist. So please check out my website, www.mypositivepodcast.com, and become a Patreon. Check out the quotes and photos that I post on there relating to all of the shows. And I hope that some of the things that you read and see can inspire you in a positive way. Now, my guest for this episode is going to be talking about looking in the mirror. And she's going to tell a lot about the different dimensions she has in her life and how she sees it. So if you're curious in her story, sit back, relax, and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to my Positive Podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my guest on this episode of my Positive Podcast, MPP, is a lady I had a pleasure of meeting actually about a couple of months ago at a concert that was organized by her and her sister in their yard. And she's into art. I mean, serious art. And what I mean by that is she does sculpturing. She's into writing. She's doing ceramics, and a very multi-talented artistic person. Please welcome my next guest, Miss Deanna Coppens. Well, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Good
Okay,
morning.
good morning. Well, can you tell my listeners a little bit about, your background and, how you got started with some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I was born in an artistic nest, as we say. Both my parents were artists. Unfortunately, they passed away a couple of years ago. And I was literally born in what we call l'atelier, in the workshop. Um, my mother was a single mother at the time, and my sister and I would live there. And of course, my father would come and visit us every day. And we were literally living in one space, which was at the same time the workshop. And my father was professor at the academy in Antwerp, and since 1938, because my father was really an older man, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a teacher in antique drawing and sculpting. And in 1948, my mother went to academy because she wanted to become a sculptor too. And they met and they were so madly in love. And
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
first my sister was born, and then I was born 12 years later. And I think from the moment that I opened my eyes, I was like in an artistic nest. And when I was at the age of more than a year and a half, I was already drawing. I still have the drawings from then. And then my father always wanted me to become a painter. So as they were always working, I was standing in their workshop while they were sculpting. And I was there with my paintbrushes and drawing. And he made me enter drawing competitions, painting competitions that I won. And even when I was 5 or 6, there was a TV show in Belgium that is where they showed me and my artwork. And but that's about where I come from. So it's always been there. And for my parents, I think their art was the most important thing
Well,
because they were always working.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we didn't have. Yeah.
next to the two daughters, of course.
Well, yes and no, because they're they always ask me how much fun is that? That should be fun to be growing up with artists, but it's not always that simple.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine that. And you have your because your parents are they both from the Antwerp area in Belgium, or were they from different
Um,
parts of Belgium?
they're from different parts of Flanders. That
Hmm.
is, my father is from a village called Londerzeel.
Okay,
Londerzeel is close to Brussels. Yes.
right.
But he moved to Antwerp, in the 1930s. And my mother herself, she's a real true Antwerp woman. My grandmother, so that is my mother's mother, they
Hmm.
had a ship channeling business in Antwerp in the old harbor. And
Wow.
so she, from her home, she met very many international sailors, and ships came and went, and it was very interesting to live there at the time. It's what we call the island, het eilandje. You
Yeah,
probably
right. I
know that,
know it.
Eddie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's where she had her store. And whereas my father, he was from a very Catholic family, farmers, 13 children. So that was a
Wow.
big contrast,
That's quite
very
a
big
big contrast.
contrast.
Yes, absolutely. Well, they found each other through the art form and the art of love. I guess so. And
Yeah, and of course she was his model, huh? Because that's how the muse works. Huh?
okay,
So yeah, when you're madly in love, there's so many examples of that in history.
right.
Yeah,
You've seen
you
it with a
make
lot of,
songs for your beloved, and
yeah, songs. You make paintings. You do all kind of art. Yeah, absolutely. You know. Well, can you tell my audience a little bit about some of the things that you're doing now, because you have like I said, I was blown away by some of the work I saw of yours that was in the garden there, and with the concert, and it was quite impressive, quite impressive. Because you're
yeah.
coming from a traditional style originally, but you kind of gone into more of a modern kind of thing as well. Huh?
Well, what you saw, Eddie, at the time during the concert was at the workshop of my parents in Zoorsel, and it's a
Mm.
place also in Belgium. And most of the sculptures that were there in marble, they were made by my mother. Me, myself, I make a totally different style of sculptures and ceramics. So to continue my story, when I went, no, I never actually went to art academy as a youngster, but I did go to the United States for a couple of years, where I studied a few subjects in art, and that made me a totally different new being. I mean, the culture shock. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man. Sorry to disrupt you, but what part of the states did you go to? Where did you do your study
Well,
at?
my boyfriend at the time, he lived in Boise, Idaho. So I went to Boise, Idaho.
All right.
Yeah. And I lived there a few years. And before that, in Vancouver, in British Columbia. So anyhow, there I got really a different point of view of art, as opposed to what we learned here in Belgium. which is at the time was very classical training. And my father, in the first place, he was a classically trained professor. And there I really opened my mind. And so when I returned, I went to Art Academy here in Belgium, in Antwerp, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Oh, wow.
It was so, I don't know, so narrow-minded, and there was so much envy. And whereas in the States it was open and people were positive, it was a very big cultural shock. So it made me change my life at the age of 25, because of course, I had to go and work too at some time, So I went to start working for the city of Antwerp, and I went to study to become a lawyer. So
Hey,
I spent
that's a
25
twist.
years of my life. Yeah, I'm a jurist and specialized in administrative law. And after that, I studied a master in public management. So 25 years of my life, I just did that. I always continued painting, and my father was the best teacher, and I did several things. And at the age of when I turned 50, then my late husband he passed away, and I chose the artistic direction. So what you saw in Zursel was a compilation of the inspiration of my parents' work that brought me to my own work. And with now I'm actually specialization in. I'm a master in ceramics and that brought me to a next level. It really did bring me to that level that seemed to be missing all my life. And I told you, my father always wanted me to become a painter because he wanted to be a painter, because his uncle was a painter. And I like painting, but working in 3 dimension, and now I'm working in glass too, brings me up to that level where I feel that all my artistic, let's say, experience falls
Right.
together.
Okay.
So what you
Right.
saw there was mainly their work, and my work is very different.
All right. Well, how did the ceramic thing, because you said you mentioned about working in 3D. Can you explain a little bit more in depth what that does for you? Does it have to do also with the influences you had when you studied in the States? The mentality of the people and the different culture thing that made you wanted you to go, say, deeper into your artwork from out a three-dimensional point of view?
Definitely, because at the time in the States, many years ago, I had a subject, of course, I forgot the name, and the teacher would encourage to work interdisciplinary.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at the time, and still it's like that here, you choose for a subject and you do only this, or you do only that, or you do. And I like to combine all my skills in my works. I make installations.
Okay.
Um, and the glass that I'm studying now, I was very inspired visiting the Ringling Museum a couple of years ago in Florida. Have you been?
No, I'm actually hearing about that for the first time. Can you
Yeah,
tell me a bit
we
about it?
went to visit. Oh, sorry, we went to visit some friends in Sarasota, Florida, some 4 years ago, and there's a Ringling Museum. And Ringling was actually the founder of the American circus.
Right,
And
right.
it's
The
really,
Ringling
it's an
Brothers, right,
unbelievable, yeah.
right. The
There's a
greatest
film
show on
made
earth. Yeah.
also. And there was a glass exhibition, and that inspired me so much. And so I want this extra dimension of glass to my ceramic work. And over the years, I'm the eternal student, I call myself. While I was working full time, I also studied 3 years of fashion. So I made my own clothes. Yeah. And
Oh,
somehow today, yeah, today, it helps me in my ceramics, because when you design clothes, you make patterns, and ceramics also, you make patterns and you compose them together. Um, so about the time of Corona, yeah, I'm jumping from here to there maybe, but it's only like 3-4 years ago. It was for me one of the best times for the development of my work.
Right.
I think for many artists, actually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can, for me, it was like a time to discover my photography and go deeper into it. Because during the Corona time, I took a lot of pictures in Antwerp and eventually did a exhibition of
Oh,
some black and white photography that I did, just going through the city, because the city was completely in a whole different atmosphere than it is when there's livelihood and everything going on. So from off the first night of the lockdown, basically up until the last year that we were in Corona, I would go out at night, and I like the dark images, and with my post processing, make the pictures look almost like drawings. The link between music and art, they're all art forms, so there's always a link to connect them all together. And I also know that doing some stuff together with your sister, tours through Antwerp, and you organize sort of like a little city tour, like where they can, for the artwork and stuff like that. You were mentioning that to me.
yes, definitely. So, as I was saying, in 2013, I changed the direction of my life, and my mother was still alive at the time, and my father had passed away in 2010, and we established or created a museum with their artwork. Mind you, there's another museum which belongs to the government of Soersel, where you had the show. And but we ourselves, we established a small museum, and there we give workshops. My sister does all types of workshops for children, and I also have workshops there with clay. And why are we doing this? Because we want to make sure the inheritance of the artwork of my parents doesn't get
That's
lost.
beautiful.
So we have a foundation. Yeah, it's called, we have a foundation. And some of the artwork is in the foundation and some other artwork is not. It's in private collection. And we organize exhibitions, workshops, the city tour in Antwerp, just to get the funds to survive, let's say.
Hmm.
And actually, it's good you mention it, because next week on October 29th, we're having a city tour. And my sister, she's more into the historical stuff than me, She will lead you through the city, because there are many statues that my parents made for the city of Antwerp or other governments. And in Antwerp, they have an abundance of them. But also in other cities, like my father, he made a church, the front of a church in Tongeren. That's also a village in Belgium.
Hmm.
There's some in Mechelen, and all over.
Wow.
They made sculptures in churches. Yeah, all types of things, portraits. Yeah. So that is one of the jobs I do next to my own artistic work.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I like the fact that you're passing your talents on to the younger generation of artists. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Actually, when you have these workshops, because I had a few, you can, there's a lot of difference between people. And I think everybody is talented, but not necessarily in the same thing.
No, I can imagine that. Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Wait, let me ask you a question. I know that you're really pretty philosophical about a lot of the things that you're doing, because you're such a well-rounded person with a lot of experiences, and also your time, because you spent your time overseas in the States and you've been in Europe, and you like you mentioned about the differences there. How has your experiences in the States been, let's say, influential for you being back in Europe now when you're, let's say, busy not only with your artwork, but in general, let's say, working with people?
That's a very good question. It made definitely a very big difference on me being in the States. But the thing is, I was not staying with American people there, which sounds strange because my first husband, he was Iranian,
Okay.
and so all my family was Iranian, so I had there a double cultural shock.
Oh, wow.
You see what I mean.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
It's of course I have an American friend still today, and sometimes even a few weeks ago I had my friend Susan come over. She used to live in Boise, but now she lives in Georgia, and she was in Brussels. So we met, and I know her more than 40 years. Um, why am I telling you this is because there was a big difference between the Persian people and the real American people. And I actually worked 3 years for American companies
Well,
as a
yeah.
consultant. During the 25 years I was working, not artistically, I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG, and they were typical American companies with typical American values. And what I find so inspiring is that they always stick together. I mean, they are team builders. They believe in themselves. They want to go ahead.
Right.
And they don't let themselves drown in the old European or old structures.
Okay.
And sometimes that bothers me here, that I have a lack of freedom. And there I felt like a free person. I could drive outside Boise, or later I lived in Reno, Nevada. You could drive out of the city. You were in nowhere's land. When you did something, it would be encouraged,
Right.
Especially artistic.
Yeah.
Whereas here, there's so many of us in all these little houses, and and sometimes I feel I suffocate.
Okay. I can imagine that because I've run into that situation myself quite a few times in my life. And I've been living actually most of my life in Europe. I left the States back in 1975 and lived in the Netherlands for like 38 years before I came to Belgium. Behind everything a person wants to do when you're being creative, but this, but that. Well, one of the reasons why I do this show is to bring out the positivity that things can be done. And then having people like you on the show that are real positive and straightforward and open minded about, what you're doing, it makes a lot of difference, makes a lot of difference.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Getting back to you again, some of the other things that you're doing other than just your ceramic, that seems to be a major thing in your workshops. Um, are there any major plans in the future for an exhibition of your own again somewhere?
Of course. Of course. As I was saying earlier on, because time flies, during Corona, I had an exhibition. Well, I prepared an exhibition. Let's go back a little bit in time. In 2019, I had a retrospective, my own retrospective,
Okay.
in Zoersel, in the shadow of the works of my parents, because I wanted to be out of their shadow. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Everybody always talks about them, and and I'm happy. I'm happy for them, but it's my life and I'm still alive.
right.
So I had a retrospective where I showed the different things I had been doing up to then. And then Corona came, and I had moved from Sint-Niklaas, where I live in Belgium, to another academy close by. And the other academy is in a place called Temse.
Okay.
And Temse is next to the River Scheldt.
Right.
Scheldt, that is the major river also for Antwerp, the harbor. And I got inspired by a crane that was there, like an industrial archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a crane, it's still there. It's an industrial crane from the last shipping yard that was in Belgium. And that shipping yard was in Temse. It went bankrupt some 20 years ago or so. And this crane is there as a reminder of the shipping yard. Accidentally, in my home, I have two paintings that a colleague of my father gave him some 40, 50 years ago, longer maybe. And that same crane is depicted on those oil paintings.
Wow.
When you talk about coincidence, it's unbelievable. Huh? And that crane, at the time it was painted, it was still in Antwerp. So when the shipping yard in Antwerp went bankrupt, then the crane moved to Temse, and then it got into my mind, and I created an exhibition around that, which was called Transformed, !
Mm-hmm.
The crane of Temse whispers a story. So I made a complete exhibition about whispers a Corona story, because I made, on the one hand, industrially like looking sculptures, and on the other hand, very more biological forms that were a little bit like the coronavirus. So that was my first individual exhibition, right at the end of the Corona crisis or pandemic. And the second one was they asked me to make the crane for a good purpose, because they were going to destroy the crane because it's old and rusty. And so there's also an organization in Temse, and they asked me, can you not make a small crane and for an exhibition, and we will sell these for the good purpose.
Okay.
So I did that, and I had my second exhibition, which was called Transition. And mind you, the crane will survive, because the government will buy it, and that's all in order. And the exhibition I'm working on right now is called Metamorphosis. And it's about my own transformation, my transition, but it is based on actually on Elon Musk and his mission to Mars, or his hope to have a mission to Mars.
Right.
So it depicts actually when mankind leaves the earth, and there will be a temple on the moon, and there will be rockets, and we will leave the earth. And my question is, what type of world are we going to create?
Wow.
In outer space.
Oh, fantastic.
And that is my my present exhibition I'm working on, and I hope to have it ready by next June. I'm working on that every day now, because it's not only, you know it too, it's not only that you're in your workshop and working in the clay and in the glass, you also have to write, you have to, now I'm translating my website, you have to, it's a job.
It's quite a job, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about it is that it's fun, because it's passionate.
That is.
And the time fly, and that's why it makes time fly, and at the same time makes it a lot of work, because you want to put your best out there. I've got one quick question for you before we close off.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what would you tell people today with everything that's going on around the world? We have quite a turbulent situation in the world at the moment, with all of the wars being fought and terrorism happening and stuff. It seems like we're going back in time. But my question to you is, what would you say to people today as far as how to express themselves artistically?
Those are two questions.
That's actually two questions, basically.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just thinking. I think the main thing is, because this is a philosophical question, and that would open a different issue, but I think the main thing is to always look in the mirror as a human being.
Yeah.
And you can express yourself in an artistic way in so many ways. You can put it in your cooking. You can put it in the way you decorate your home. You can, how you create your garden, there's a million ways. Even as a jurist, I was even creative in law, So my message is, look in the mirror, be kind for yourself and be kind for your neighbor. And don't judge people on what you hear or what you see. And let's together work and build on this temple of humankind.
That's a beautiful way to close off this episode. I want to thank you so much for coming on. You are definitely a person with a three-dimensional way of vision and views, and it's a real pleasure talking with you. And I'm sure we're going to be working together on some projects and some stuff in the future. That's for sure.
I hope so.
Most definitely. Well, listen, thank you so much. We'll definitely see each other soon, and I'm sure my listeners really enjoyed listening to your story. And I'm definitely going to have you back on the show again when your project is ready.
Oh, thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C.
Well, I really enjoyed my conversation with Diana, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it and that you got some inspiration from it as well. Now, let's talk about looking in the mirror. What does that really mean, especially for me? I think it's not something that one should do on a, say, end of the year basis, but I think basically on a regular basis, if not every day, because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can set the tone of how your whole day is going to go. And if you're looking with a very positive outlook on it, you'll get the best out of that day, even though it might be a hectic time or you might have a very busy lifestyle. Take a time just to look in that mirror for a second and say, hey, where am I right now with myself? And on these words, here's my quote. Look in the mirror. It's that one person that you cannot hide from. There is a copy of yourself, but in a reverse image. Yet, there is more to see behind what is actually there. This is your best friend and your worst enemy lifelong. Your only real true competitor and motivator. That one person in the mirror, which is a reflection of you. Well, that's about all for this episode. But before I round up, I'd like to thank my guest, Miss Diane Coppens, for coming on and sharing her experiences and how she looks into the mirror. And remember, the next time you look into the mirror, what you see is what you get. But what you can improve. Until next time. You can find me on all platforms like Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next time and stay positive.